I had been hoping to kick off tonight's episode with the celebrating a Derby win at the weekend and talking about how great it was to beat them, but unfortunately it wasn't to be. Just before we get started proceedings properly, I just want to pass on behalf of everybody in the podcast our deepest condolences to the friends and family of Mark Strachan. We just heard of his passing today, so send our thoughts and love to all Mark's family and friends. John, on to the Hibs matters. Where do you want to start us?
Fairly stodgy game where the crowd, I don't think it's as was a particularly animated crowd at Tynecastle, certainly where I was in the stand. Two teams that are guarded in terms of how they were playing each other, no real big chances. And I think Boyle influences the two big moments. A really bad touch from a touch on from Campbell, takes him too close to the goalie, doesn't get the chance away, and decides to dance up in the air and do a wee pirouette to let the boy cut inside when there's
Yeah,
him and Abita have got the guy tied out. It's and he gets to fly away with Australia, gets stitched up by the Socceroos media team holding up Devlin in some pictures, and he doesn't have to sort of face anybody at Easter Road, and he gets a wee holiday out of it. It just feels a bit raw. I'm not looking for punishment, but it just feels as if at a time when we look to get the team back together on the pitches, getting heads together, that seems to be the solution that came last season when there was a bit of rough form. I
yeah.
mean, getting all the heads, old heads, young heads into a room and sort things out. That's probably the frustration after that match is that too many players have drifted away to international duty.
It feels a wee bit like we sort of need that. I don't know what you would call it. That sort of direct conversation. You know, the players having it out with each other a wee bit that we heard about last season. I think it was after the Dundee game when Dwight Gale talked about it in the press about how they were too nice to each other, and Joe Newell obviously cancelled the Christmas night out and all this kind of thing. And we seem to see a difference in it. But we also like last season saw the players celebrating tackles and all this kind of thing. And that seems to be missing this season, John.
The thing is that, I mean, there was a couple of cracking tackles. I think that there's lots of the side that looks much more settled in a better place. I think Salinger's picked up the goalie gloves really well and is looking solid in there. Hanley is picking up the other centre backs. I mean, are finding their form again. There's lots of little bits of the team that are coming together. The midfield, where we thought we were going to have too many players, is suddenly bereft again because of injuries.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and it's that magic sauce. I mean, for that middle bit of the pitch that needs to be there. But fine margins is a phrase that's used ever and ever and again. I've heard a few comments this week, but yeah, that should have been a standard boring 0-0 draw, and we stopped the cross, and that's what it is. You can look at the rest of it. I mean, Cadden's getting buried for it, but Cadden, like the rest of the defensive line, starts to step up
Mm-hmm.
as the guy gets a free pass to come inside for Boyle, and is then on his heels trying to drop back into the space. I mean, perfect cross and a player running into the only position he could get it. No, I mean, but no, stop the cross and that's it. But no, it was a really turgid game. Both they didn't want to lose it. We didn't want to lose it. Um, I'm not convinced with all the McInnes talk about, oh, I put on all these players at the end. And no, it was 3 seconds of play that made the difference. It wasn't some sort of pile on at the end and we
Yeah,
were sort of ripped under. Uh, but I think the lesson out of it is that don't get too down. I mean, don't fall into the trap that Hearts fans are that they're so much better than the rest of the league, and don't fall into the other trap that thinks that you're going to finish 13th.
they were going to take us for like 9 or 10 goals, John, before the game, weren't they? You know, like the fact it was that last minute goal, so
And
there's not
and
actually that much between the teams.
and that left winger who was absolutely fabulous but only has the right foot. You know what I mean? A bit like the boy at Rangers. You know what I mean? Can he actually hit a byline? You know what I mean? If you gave him a baseball bat. You know what I mean? Everything has to be a turn inside, and he has to get a spectacular goal for 35 yards, hitting it on the right foot. You know what I mean? I was on that side of the stand. Once in the first half, he got past Karen towards the byline and got a cross in, and it was cleared by the centre backs. Other than that, everything was trying to turn inside, turn inside. So many places over the pitch. The boy number 10, is it Braga?
Mm-hmm.
I think he had to be taken off because they'd forgotten he was on the pitch. I mean, there was so many good performances across that pitch for so much of the game. And that's where my frustration is. Martin's always had that bit of sloppiness in his head in terms of defending. He's a striker. You know what I mean? So I'm
Yeah.
not going to bury him in that. But the thing he really did wrong is that touch off the thigh. You know what I mean? Going through for the shot on goal. I mean, that should have been buried. And he knows it. I mean, he had three chances in the game, one on one with the keeper, and scored one of them. You know what I mean? Two or three of them have to go in, not one.
It has been a bit of a pattern
I'm not trying to be overly.
this
I'm not.
season.
It's not a pick out. Martin's
Mm-hmm.
wrong, and he has to. But I think it's trying to just identify. It was such a tight game, and the margins were so tight that you can draw it down to such little things.
Mm. Callum, what did you think about it?
As a game, I thought it was like rotten. There really wasn't anything in it at all. We also let ourselves down kind of badly in possession, and then I think somebody posted the stats after the game, and they were almost double kind of in terms of like passes forward, passes in the final third, that kind of thing. It was so odd to be for a Saturday night game to kind of be so flat and so few chances. It just didn't like represent a derby at all.
What'd you put that down to?
Both teams know what to lose. McInnes made changes with 10 minutes to go, and as John says, they weren't kind of all-out attack. They've made one good cross and scored for it, but we just didn't want to get beaten. I think that showed in the fact that we made one sub before 80 minutes, and then to fling Clegy on, I mean, he's just putting the guy under the bus week in, week out. I don't know what he expects from him when he's only getting a few minutes here and there. I'd kind of spoke before, I think it was after the Dundee United game, about we seem to miss this kind of, in my opinion, we seem to miss this having the two sitters in midfield. And I think that was quite telling on Saturday because the amount of times they gave the ball away, and I think a big miss for us as well, and maybe no individually with Chantis, but what Barlaser can't do is when he wins the ball, is he can't get it up the park. The difference with Chantis is, and you look at his goal against Motherwell or his assist up in Aberdeen, he'll win the ball and he'll drive you 20, 30 yards at the park. And we've got massive gaps between our midfield and our attack. Boyle kind of last season and in early parts of this season, particularly in Europe, would kind of drop off a bit. He seemed to be right up beside them, and at times Campbell was up there as well. And our tactics were just to hoof it long, which played right into their hands. That's what they wanted all day. When we ever did get the ball on the ground, that Finlay was playing it, just shanking it at the park just as quickly as he could. They didn't want to deal with the pace. And I just wish Gray had maybe put Cleage on for Bowie, because Bowie he didn't have a great game, and we just kept playing the ball to him, which was clearly the tactic, but it just didn't work. And I think as well, even when he did make those 3 or 4 changes, why not put Levitt on that's going to get on the ball? Because the ball was going to drop into space, but we just kept giving it away. Mulligan was quite poor on the ball. I know his game is to get on the ball and drive forward, but we just couldn't. It just seemed to be we couldn't string 3 passes together all night.
Is that tactics? Is it the weather? Is it players out of form? What do you think?
I don't know. I don't like, people can talk about shapes and formations and all that, but as I say, like the one thing I noticed with Barlaser was he just didn't want to drive forward. Mulligan tried a couple of times, but he just got crowded out in the midfield. We just seemed to be quite disjointed, and even when say Chris Carden got on the ball, he was passing it inside straight to Hearts players, and I don't know what that's down to, because the week before, obviously, we were at Parkhead and we defended really, really well, and we didn't have a lot of the ball, but you'd think we knew we were going to get more of the ball in the derby, but we just didn't kind of make any use of it, and we seem to be hell-bent on leaving Bowie and Boyle up top as long as we can. Bowie had a bit of a stinker against Falkirk, and I just feel that Clegy deserved a chance, and it's another international break. He's going to be playing for Togo, and you can guarantee that come the Livingston game, he'll probably be on the bench again.
What do you make of that? Like, Gray spoke about him needing to kind of settle into Scottish football and get used to it, and they were not going to rush him in. Do you think Hibs are overcautious with players?
100%. How are you meant to get used to it sitting on a bench? How are you meant to get used to the physicality of the league and the way that we play? It's different when you're playing your boxes and that in training and stuff. And if you look on Ellie Ewan's Instagram, he's scoring goals every week in training, but it's very different on the park. And I just think we're setting the guy up to fail, because come January, he'll likely be away again. for the African Cup of Nations, and then potentially next season you're looking at. I mean, Boyle's only got this season left on his contract and stuff. So, and he's been unfortunately tagged as the £1 million man, and that's down to the club and the way that they announced his transfer. And I was quite critical of that at the time because that's a massive pressure on that man's shoulders, and he's been given 3 or 4 minutes here and there.
That's an interesting one. Brian asked on the YouTube, said, what was the Hibs kickoff about? What did you make of the kickoff, Callum?
Shambles. I don't know why you wouldn't want to just get possession of the ball, and even if you're passing it around the team, just everybody get a touch, get them settled into the game. Don't get me wrong, from our kickoff, they sliced a clearance out, we won a throw, and it got a bit of cheer for our end. But I've been looking. I think Bournemouth did the same at the weekend, and all these. It's nonsense. Is what it is. I don't know if it's supposed to be is it tactical? Is it a mind thing? Like, no idea.
Just try and cause a bit of carnage with it, just a little lump up in the air and let the wind cause havoc. I have to say, I wasn't like mad against it, but it was weird to see it. John, you get your hand up.
1, get it to fuck. 2, if you really want your centre forward, to end up in hospital, keep doing it, because I was a centre half. If you're going to tell me that you're going to just kick the ball up in the air for your centre forward to come through, yeah, I'll go 5 yards further back and I'll quite happily run at him. To wipe him out in that challenge that you've given me the opportunity to do. It's giving you nothing. You're hoping for a mistake. If you want that sort of stuff, go to the other stadium beside Tynecastle and do it.
Fair enough.
Genuinely, at the game, I couldn't have hated it more. It's the most pathetic thing to get upset about. But I saw it and I thought, fucking hoofball.
It does set the tone, doesn't it? Like that is like a bit of a. This is how the game's going to go, isn't it?
Sorry to everybody else for jumping in, but I maybe had an opinion.
No, please. Jeff, what did you make of the game on Saturday
night? Typical derby from yesterday year. Just going on the kickoff thing. Hearts did it as well, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
I thought that maybe they were just taking the piss and imitating us. But there's an Instagram reel of a lot of teams doing that. Good, I see good teams like Premier League teams and just hoof it, that's their kickoff or knocking it straight out of touch as near the corner flag as they can, just to gain yardage. So it's not just a Hibs thing. I don't like it, but it's obviously something that's been looked at and thought, yeah, let's give it a bash. I mean, we did get a throw out of it, which attacking throw, long throw. I don't, it's not easy on the eye, not the Hibs way, but the game was, neither team, we cancelled each other out. The players that can make a difference on both sides never really shone. Their new electric left winger was showing up he's a one-trick pony, which was, he did get a shot away, which was a good shot, but never going in. Our sort of game changers, Boyle had the one chance, and we've discussed that, bad first touch, but he still nearly made it. He was unlucky. But as the game was going on, I was screaming at the telly, get up the park. Why are we inviting them onto us? I know, have we just cleared a corner before the goal? I was trying to piece together I think Hanley had put it out for a corner. So we weren't in our normal shape, if you like. We were coming out and players were in dribs and drabs. Then the boy managed to get it in. So that's probably one of the reasons we weren't in our proper defensive shape, if you like, for a normal cross coming in.
Would 0-0 have been a good result, Jeff?
No, a good result. I mean, it would have been acceptable. I mean, we've all, certainly the older ones, 0-0 against the league champions, it's away from home. They were expecting to beat us, and they were, let's look at, they were very confident. All my Jambo friends that have been quiet for years are suddenly appearing on my timeline all over my social media. Especially after the game, natural order, whatever it was, all that shit. Like, oh, nice to see you, mate. What have you been like?
Yogurt. Aye.
So it's would it have been a good result? No, it would have been acceptable. I wouldn't say good because I'm always disappointed if we don't beat them. I'll never accept a 0-0 unless it's we were good enough to beat them, is what I'm trying to say. And they're probably good enough to beat us on the day if they'd hit their form. But we. Defensively, Salinger, how many saves did he have to make? He had one with his feet from the free kick, that missed everybody, and he kicked it out. Can you remember any other saves?
I think that was it. I think
Yeah.
that was it. Like their one big chance was their goal.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a fantastic defensive performance away from home, no matter who you're playing. So keeper has one iffy save to make from a free kick. It was just what I was disappointed in was, and I've said it on one of the group chats, is I just get the impression we're playing with a handbrake on. Like Graves being a bit, not passive. What's the word? A bit not negative, a bit cautious. Like, and I've likened it to the second half at Legia where we had to go for it. You know, we're 2 goals down, and he let the handbrake off, and suddenly we looked a different team. I know it's different circumstances,
Yeah.
and, you know, but just let the handbrake off and let us, you know, fucking go for it.
Did we show them too much respect, Jeff?
I don't know. Maybe. You know, it's. But I mean, John was there. What was the weather like? Did the weather play a part in the how bad it was? I don't know. Was it too windy? I mean, I don't know. But yeah, maybe we did show him too much respect.
Jack on the YouTube said Hibs need to start winning. This is getting embarrassing now. Our last win in league was Dundee away on the 25th. 25-26 league season opener, and WTO rules says nothing wrong with putting snow in it, especially when you're getting pressed defensively, but not really from kickoff. Ian, you were at the game. What did you make of it?
Funnily enough, on the kickoff, I mean, the kickoff is very like American football or even rugby. Certainly, when I was playing rugby, I mean, that's the sort of thing you would just go for position. So it's this interesting introduction of it. I agree with a lot of what John and Jeff and Callum have said, but like Jeff said, I think a draw would have been good, a good result against the league leaders. And it was an excellent goal by Hearts. So it was it was a cross that we've not created a chance like that for somebody for quite a few games now. It was a great cross to the back post, and it was a really good finish by someone who really you wonder how the hell they're able to finish like that. But anyway, I thought we had the right tactics. We played exactly the same as we did against Celtic. And it was almost the right selection as well. So I thought the tactics were good. I thought it was a right selection. The defence were really, really solid, which is very promising. So the defence were terrific throughout the whole game. We stopped their strikers playing completely, apart from that daft chance where bounced through to Shankland. He just looked utterly, bereft of ideas. And as John said, the problem is our finishing continues to be poor. I mean, I've said this for weeks and weeks now. We had one shot on target. You can imagine that. That was a Boyle one that was saved by the feet. So, I mean, obviously, I'm going back a couple of games, but an example, I was thinking about how many headers we missed recently. So Bowie missed a header. Bowie missed more than one. Boyle missed, I think, 2. Rocky, again, almost an open goal. O'Hara. And the guy next to me at Parkhead said, "How can a professional footballer miss the target from that distance?" But on Saturday, I thought the selection was good. Josh Campbell was linking very well with Boyle. Obviously, what David Gray was hoping to do was to reproduce the fact that they linked so well last season. And obviously, Josh is great in the air, both in attack and defence. And it really showed in defence. He was one of the guys that was really clearing all the balls out of defence with his head. And also him being up front and able to jump, that really alleviated the pressure from Bowie. I thought his thigh pass to Boyle, as John said there, I think it showed the difference between his experience and Kieran Bowie's, because I thought that Kieran would probably have tried to bring it down and turn. Whereas Campbell he right away just knew the ball was there, and I thought that was a terrific bit of football. But as Jeff said just now, we saw Aberdeen match last year. The best way of achieving a draw is to attack, and if Jeff was yelling at his telly to get up the field, then I was doing the same because we were drawing Hearts onto us, and it's just we might have got lucky, but it was just a matter of time, and it was a terrific cross. I mean, Barlasser, I felt that the only poor selection was the fact that Levitt wasn't playing. Barlasser, I think, he had one good pass, but he's really anonymous in the game. And I think what David Gray's tried to do is we've recruited these new players, and he's thinking, well, I better put him in because he's a new player. And we really need Dylan Levitt's creativity. I know it's a while ago now, but if you remember the disallowed goal that Boyle had against Rangers, if you remember that fantastic pass from Dylan Levitt, that's the sort of thing that Van Lasser just doesn't look like it's as we footballers say, got it in his locker. So, but to me, as usual, up front with rubbish. Chai was still not made a tackle ever. He guides and jockeys people, but he's still never won the ball. Mulligan, thank God, has been moved from right back. He was taken by the wing back. He was taken to the cleaners at Rangers. And I remember he was beaten five times 1-on-1, and every time he's played there, he seems to just not be capable of playing the position. So I'm glad we brought Chris Cadden back in. If Chris Cadden's not playing well, then we'll use Kanayo Megwa, because obviously we were stupid enough to let Miller go. But that's water under the bridge. So I think it's either Cadden or Kanayo. So I mean, it's it didn't really bother me. I felt Hart scored a good goal. I felt that, okay, it was symptomatic of the way we lost the games in Europe. And I was just fascinated to see Midtjylland beating Nottingham Forest because we came so bloody close to beating them, and we should have beaten them. So there we go. If we'd finished properly against Midtjylland, then we would have been at least had a chance to do that. But I mean, I don't feel the same about derbies and the sort of hatred that goes on. I don't feel the same as a lot of other people. To me, it's just another game. It was a team that's at the top of the league for a reason. They scored a really good goal. Our problem is just finishing.
Davy Granules said too weak mentally as a club in the derby, too respectful. Did you think they looked weak mentally in the game, Ian?
No, not at all. No, we played exactly the same as we played against Celtic. We deliberately were really solid in defence, and we tried to hit them on the break. So our problem was the finishing. Yeah, because obviously Boyle's extra touch that he took when he went through meant he was trying to chip it instead of trying to put it to the keeper's side. So no, we didn't give them any more respect than we gave Celtic. So we played exactly the same against Celtic. We were really, really solid in defence. It's just we're not creative enough and we can't finish. So I don't think we give Hearts any respect at all.
How do we fix that creativity? Because that's been a theme now for a few weeks, Ian, hasn't it?
Well, I mean, unfortunately, David keeps on buggering about. There's too many variables that you can use to fuck up a team, and one of them is obviously changing the formation. Right? If you change the formation but keep a solid starting team, then fair enough. Or if you change the starting team, but or vice versa, but you can't change too many things at once. So we're obviously decided we're going to play Bowie up front as a target man. He's not a target man. He's never played as a target man before, and he doesn't look like a target man. So we've decided to change that as well. He's just changing too many of the variables just now. So he has to settle down. He has to realise that, I think what he's now got is stability at the back. So I think that's good. He's got stability at the back. We obviously, I think Smith or Salinger, it's Ixie Pixie. They're both really good performers. So I think what he's done is he's put Jim McGrath in and put Josh Mulligan in because he thought they were an upgrade on what he had, and it doesn't really look like that. They're not being as decisive, and obviously we've changed it up front whereby we're playing with a target man. So he's just got to settle down, make less changes, celebrate the wee things that work well, and just build on the things that are not. I mean, it's really, sorry, one last thing. It's really funny if you watch the warm up. If you watch the warm up at the games and you look at the shooting, if you look at the finishing practice, it's amazing who scores all the goals. It's never our strikers who score, and it's actually quite good fun to watch. And on Saturday, it was hilarious watching. I can't remember. It was we had two guys trying to play keepy uppy, and they couldn't even do it. It was funny. So watch the warm up, and you'll see who should be playing up front.
Warm up more entertaining than the main action sometimes.
Aye.
Joe, what were your thoughts on it?
Well, can I start off by thanking Ian for a terrific summary of it all? I agree with everything you just had to say, Ian. Spot on. Perfect. Spot on. In fact, you've not left the rest of us with much to say. Other than, I totally agree with the strikers. The role that they're using Kieran Bowie in is totally wrong. And why did we spend 1.2 million or whatever it was on Cleachy and not give him a kick at the ball? It's bonkers. Did Mackay make the decision to buy him and Gray doesn't fancy him? Because that's crackers to me. They have to give Cleachy a start, because the front two, as Ian just said, I think they've scored, 2 goals since the end of August, if that, between them.
Mm.
And I think playing Bowie in the role that he played last season and playing Cleachy beside him might make all the difference. And of course, my pal Dylan Levitt's got to come back into the team. I quite agree with you, Ian.
How would you assess the season so far, Joe?
Disappointing, in a word.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you look at when we had the fixture list came out, first of all, I looked at it and I thought the first 4 games we could win all 4.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, we could have. But for some unknown reason, David Gray decided to tweak the thing. I don't know whether it was to suit the new players coming in, deciding that the new £1 million player needed so many months to get up to speed. I mean, there's something weird about the Cleachy or lack of use of him. I don't pretend to understand it at all, especially when the 2 strikers couldn't strike a match. It's bizarre.
It's interesting because, I mean, there's, you look at our opponents on Saturday, they brought players in from all over the place and just chucked them right in. And we always seem really reluctant to do it. I think I asked Callum whether they thought we were overcautious with it. Do you think that's the case, Joe? Do you think we kind of, overprotect the players a wee bit?
I think there's an element of that. But, bringing in quite a lot of new players, and we have brought in quite a lot, sometimes they can gel quickly, sometimes they can't. If you speak to your dad, Matt, he'll go back to 30, 40 years ago. Everton spent millions in players, as did Sunderland, in the 60s and 70s. Bringing in a lot of good players, they've got to be blended together. Mm-hmm. And Gray's just struggling, as Ian said a minute ago, to get these new players to blend in.
Do you take some confidence, Joe, for how last season went? The fact that we had a worse start than we're going through at the moment. Although that was like our first defeat in the league season, anyway, on Saturdays. It's not been horrendous, but the fact that we managed to kind of turn the season around in the way that we did, does that give you optimism for the season, or what?
We're 11 points behind Hearts, aren't we?
Mm-hmm.
After 7 games. I don't have a lot of confidence just now. I think Ian hit the nail on the head. He's got to decide his best team and stick with it, instead not chopping and changing. And instead of playing Bowie as the target man, play him where he was better last season, and bring in Cleachy. I've said it all 3 times now. Yeah. Sorry.
What do you think is happening? Obviously, we've played some great stuff in Europe, and then we've really struggled to replicate that form in the domestic season. What would you put that down to, Joe?
I think, sorry to repeat you, Ian, he keeps tweaking the team here and there. We need to get our starting 11 and stick with it for a few games and keep Dylan Levitt on for more than 60 minutes without automatically bringing him off. He's our most creative midfield player. And what worries me also is come January, he's able to sign a new contract with somebody else. Why are we not offering him an extended contract? Or if we have, why is he not signing it? There's something bizarre going on with Dylan Levitt as well, in my view. Because if you think of all the players they extended contracts to, and he doesn't seem to, his time's running out. I don't know what you think.
It's an interesting one. Sandy said, "Evening, guys. I've just been let out to play by the missus. And Cleachy has the makings of a I don't know. Cleachy has the makings of a something, but we can't honestly believe he was David Gray's choice. That's Malky and his PC crew, surely. So I think from how it's been described, I think no player arrives in the building without the sign off of David Gray. So I always think, like, with this one, it's a bit misleading. I think every player that comes in goes through like the process and gets ratified. And it's a funny thing. It's not really, the phone is never really about my opinion, right? But I always think that if you've got a director of football and a recruitment team and a head coach, and it's that model, the head coach shouldn't get any say in who comes in. should all be done by the recruitment team, and they just get the players to deal with it. That's just how it's done in the continent.
I don't think people should be focused on the players just now. I don't know why supporters do this. It's like it's Cadden's fault that we lost the derby. It wasn't, So they always focus on the players. It's definitely the coaching team who are responsible for the results.
Agreed.
We can't. I mean, we've got a brilliant squad. We all think they have, and so we've got a great squad. So we shouldn't start questioning the individual players. We've got really good players.
John, I'll come back to you. How would you assess the season so far?
I think that 2 points dropped at home to Kilmarnock and 2 points dropped away at Falkirk make the difference to the season. Probably put us in the position where we should be. If we'd lost the last minute goal at Celtic Park and drew 0-0 at Tynecastle. I mean, there's little bits that people can turn around. I think first off, if we compare it to last year, I don't think we're losing the disastrous goals. I don't like losing the goal that we lost on Saturday. And yeah, I've been really particularly critical about Boyle and his pirouette and stuff like this. But that wasn't the sort of disastrous, really silly mistake, flat by a goalie, missed by a defender, somebody getting sent off with the last... All those sort of things that were going on last year, that's not where we are. I would give us probably a 6 out of 15 at the moment. But we'd probably be up to an 8 or a 9 if we'd won those 2 games. Now, I know we only had half the performance, but I think in both games, we've gone 2-0 up. We've been so far ahead of the other team. That's where you're looking for the players not to think that have a comfortable, that's the job done. It's that idea of keep professional. Don't be scared about what's going to happen. Just keep the professionalism there. And that's what the coaches have to sort out. That would be my assessment. And ironically, our most comfortable game of the season, I think, against Scottish opposition was away at Livingston, where we played a young right back at right back, where we had Chaiwa and Manny sitting and holding midfield, doing everything. We had Clegy and Boyle up top because we'd put Bowie on the bench. Campbell played in the 10 position. I mean, and we never looked. There was a bit where Livingston went a bit land of the Giants for a period in the second half. I mean, and just lumped the balls up. Other than that, they were not in the game. And Cleagy's front post header was delightful. I mean, so he's got an eye for goal. He's got the type of goals that are different to other people's in the team. That's what we have to be looking for. And I think the Clegy thing, the only thing I would say is that he's picking Boyle and Bowie ahead of him. I mean, so it's not the idea that he doesn't fancy Clegy. He's just got 2 other players, I mean, that he's seen for longer and is probably more invested in at this stage that he's picking ahead of them. And in terms of Levitt, did he not walk away from Dundee United under freedom of contract?
I think he did, yeah. But I think that's how we scooped him up. I can't remember. I don't think we paid for him.
There are players who go through their career and that's how they do their moves.
It's fair enough, it's within the rights. Callum, same question to you. How would you assess the season so far?
I think it's been shite, to be perfectly honest. I see this like conceding goals out in half time, conceding goals in full time. That's what we did last season, particularly at full time. I don't understand how a team can go so backwards when we were so progressive last season, and all of a sudden we can be 2-0 up in games and look nervous. Don't get me wrong, under Gray, we've never been a team that scored maybe 4 and 5 goals. But why the fuck no? Why no? Somebody might tell about playing with a handbrake on. We've been 2-0 up this season three times. Been pegged back twice in those games. But why have we not just went and finished the game? Like, to me, that's what's baffling. And I don't know if it's just because under Jack Ross we were a very, very well-drilled team, but we never ever put teams to the sword very often. And I just don't know if it's just the way that, because the team is so drilled and it's just the way that we play, and there's this kind of game management that comes in once you get a 2-goal lead that you kind of just sit off, but it's not working for us. And I think you guys mentioned the extra time pod about like almost this obligation to play as many midfielders as you can. We've got, was it 10, 11 first team midfielders? The recruitment's been straight up. I'm not going to criticise anybody we've signed, but to sign that many midfielders, I mean, we've had gaping holes in terms of up front and obviously replacing Miller. It's going to be hard for Gray, but I just think there is some questions around the mentality in terms of like how we're approaching games or kind of halfway through games.
It's interesting you talk about the recruitment. We obviously tried to get Lyndon Dykes in the last day of the window. It never happened. We brought in Barlaser, and there was a bit of chat about still looking at the free agent market, but it's never materialised. Like we haven't gone into find another Dwight Gale or or alternative. Is it essential when we get to January, Callum, that we get something for that Lewis Miller position and another striker in?
It is essential. I think we've seen now that we can maybe change in terms of we play. We can change Boyle for Cleege, but we've not got that replacement for Bowie if we still want to play with a physical presence up front. It worked last season with Kukurevich, who, although he's not as physical, he used his size and his pace very, very well. A lot's been made about Miller in terms of playing out centre half, but when you think about it, he never really played there until the last derby of the season. So wasn't it like maybe only 3 or 4 of the 70 game unbeaten on actually played there? Yeah. I've seen people kind of got the knife suit for O'Hora because he doesn't give you an attacking threat. It doesn't matter. Like he shouldn't need to. I thought O'Hora and Hanley were excellent on Saturday. But we need to remember it was only a few games he appeared in that role, and I think one game in particular was the Dundee game, who were absolutely fucking rank rotten, but he made the kind of run from right to left, and it all looks it's very pleasing on the eye and things. But I think both Caddens have struggled for form this season. So I appreciate it might just be down to the fact that we had a very difficult start. We performed really, very, really well and against big teams, and okay, we never got the group stages, but I genuinely thought, and I think I said on one of the phones at the time, that surely they'll take that as a positive and they'll learn from it. We've tested ourselves against good teams, good players, and we can go into this season, this domestic season, and really look forward to it. And it's just been the complete opposite of that. I never thought we'd be passed off the park to somebody like Falkirk. It's just shouldn't happen.
Agreed. Jeff, I'll get your thoughts as well. What's your assessment of the season?
Started off, Europe was quite exciting. Some great performances, home and away. League form has been underwhelming. Early season, I put that down to the European. You're playing extra time every second week. Took it out of us. They haven't got that excuse now. But unfortunately, when we've played Rangers, Hearts, Falkirk, and Celtic away. I mean, I know Falkirk isn't the hardest game, but you're on the artificial turf. You've had a tough game. Did we play them after Rangers or after Celtic? I can't remember. Somebody help me out here.
It was between the two.
Yeah, sometime anyway. So yeah, I'm giving them a bit of a get out of jail card because those are 4 traditionally very difficult games where we might not see a typical Hibs performance against like something like Livingston or whoever else we've still got to play at home. I can't remember, Motherwell, something like that. So underwhelming at the moment, and I just feel, I said this before, we've got the ingredients, we just haven't found the recipe for that midfield yet. I think Chilwell is going to feature heavily in there when he's fit. Just a hunch, based on his performance at Legia and the game against Livingston, his first sort of proper start, where he looked outstanding along with Manny. But so yeah. Just underwhelming. We've lost that bounce from the European games. Even though we got beat, there was something to cling on to. We were duking it out with some of the best teams. Well, the best teams that we're going to face
at that level. Yeah.
We look at what Michelin did to Notts Forest. The 3-1 or 3-2 it ended up, but they were costing. I know that's Big Andrew's fault, but that's another story. So yeah, I'm somebody said I'd give them about sort of 5 out of 10 or 7.5 out of 15 at the moment, but could definitely do better. If you look at last season, there was a couple of last-minute goals when we were having that bad run, but it was mainly defensive howlers from individuals. And the last-minute goal against Dundee United was a penalty that should never have been given, and we should have got one straight after. So, it's easy to fall into that mistake that it's always last-minute goals. It's not. This season, half-time. When I got to half-time on Saturday, I breathed a sigh of relief. Yeah, silly me.
That's what happens, isn't it? Joe, you had your hand up. You want to come in quickly? Then
yes,
I'll get you into assessment.
I think it's 11 midfield players. What we're lacking is that crunching ball winner in the midfield. Many years ago, Hearts had Dave Mackay, who did it and won the league with Hearts, and then he went to Tottenham. Guess what? They won the league, and then he went to Derby. They won the league. To have a really crunching ball winner. Many years ago, Hibs had Des Bremner in that role, who went on to win the European Cup and that crunching midfield ball winner with Aston Villa. For all the midfield players we've got, we don't have that player in the squad, in my view.
The Matty Jack role. That's what we're missing.
Yeah.
Ian, your hand up.
Yeah, on Sunday I was in Denmark and I met my friend who's a Midtjylland supporter, and he said that we are the best team, most competitive team he's played against all season. It was quite interesting, and certainly, as Jeff said, the games at the beginning of the season were really exciting. They're some of the most exciting games I've ever attended as a Hibs supporter. I think what we're seeing this year is that the league is much more competitive, and it looks like various teams can challenge the Old Firm, and it looks like Hearts are actually are good enough to actually be sitting at the top of the league at the moment. So it's very unusual that the level of competition that's there. I think that David Gray's been struggling to deal with the new players. If you remember, at the end of last season, you asked the question, "What do we need for next season?" And my answer was certainly, if we hold on to the existing squad, then I don't think we need anybody.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, we didn't hold on to Triantis, and we didn't hold on to Miller. But so these should have been all we needed to fix. I think it's going to make a big difference when Joe Newell comes back. Martin Boyle provides no leadership on the pitch as a captain, so I think that'll be quite a difference. And I think probably people like Mulligan and McGrath will actually benefit from that as long as we're playing Dylan Levitt to create stuff. So I'm pretty positive. The defence is looking good, and I just think I'd like to see Dean Cleland being given a chance up front. So there's no point on recalling Dean Cleland unless we actually give him a chance up front, which I think we desperately need just now.
Mm-hmm. Okay, right. That's as good a point as any to wrap up. Scotland are about to kick off. So thanks very much for phoning in and giving us your thoughts, guys. Really appreciate it. Thanks to everybody who's tuned in to watch and comment. We'll be back on Sunday with our normal episode. Obviously, no preview show on Friday because there's no game preview. But Patreon subscribers will have the banger drop into the mailbox at some point in the morning. So
there's another international on Sunday as well, just to remind you.
That's what we'll still have our episode on Sunday. But thank you for the reminder. So keep an eye out for the banger dropping into your mailbox. And until Sunday, we'll see you next time.
Well done, Matty. Well done, making it in time. Well done.
Well done, Matty.